welcome Erin Rochon from Rochon Associates. Erin is a member of our expert network. My name's Teresa Shaver. I'm the Executive Director for the Business Advisory Centre Durham. I'm glad to have you here today with us so that you can learn a little bit about Erin and her skill set and her professional services that she offers to clients. And I know it's not just the Durham region, it's likely the GTA. Is that correct, Erin?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you and welcome. And I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Erin, just tell you a little bit about her background. Erin has been working in this field, I think now for over 10 years, and she specializes with legal, medical, and dental clients and small business owners who need training with QuickBooks. She helps you understand your financials and your business expenses, but not just that, she really is someone who can help you with performance, productivity, and any inefficiencies in your business. So really worth connecting with Erin, and we appreciate having her here on our expert network so that she can work with our clients and help them with their businesses. Erin?
Absolutely.
Welcome. I'd love to ask you, my first question to you is what made you decide or what inspired you to go into your own business? And I'd love to tell our listeners, they find it so useful when we can actually give them real world examples of people that took the leap of faith and went into it.
Absolutely. So, I think I probably speak to a lot of people out there who are thinking about launching their business or who have, and saying, I was sick to death of the day-to-day commute into the city and basically losing out time with the family and the kids. I had basically a 2.5-year-old at home and was pretty much never seeing him, and daycare was raising him, and I no longer wanted to be that mom. So I needed to make a change. And at first I thought, okay, well, you know what, maybe I'll just find a job in Durham, look in the Oshawa, Whitby, Ajax area. And unfortunately, looking at that, the salaries that were being offered would not support the house that I had just purchased and all of that, because it was about half of what I was making in Toronto. So the next alternative was, all right, so how do I take the skills that I've had over the last 14 years working downtown Toronto and convert that into something on my own, where I can determine my own hours and determine my own, salary. And that's sort of what led me down the path of entrepreneurship.
Wow. Very good. And so you've been at it now for a long time. How do you enjoy it?
Love it. It's definitely given me exactly what I wanted. The flexibility for the schedule, being able to go to the kids' school events and school trips and be there when they're getting awards, and you're not feeling great one morning, it's okay to sort of sit back and relax a little bit, which you never do. Or, the school calls and need you to pick the kids up. You can be there in 10 minutes and get all that stuff done. So it's definitely allowed that freedom, which is exactly what I wanted. And it also has allowed me sort of the constant change and fun and change in environments. And I don't find myself bored the way I was when I was working, corporate jobs.
Right. Fair enough. Are you able to tell us a little bit? I know that you've done a re-engineering of your business lately, and you were something else before. And I don't know if you want to talk about that journey and why you did it.
Yeah, for sure. It was a quote unquote spur of the moment, unexpected change, I guess you could say. I was working in the same industry. So I was still working in bookkeeping and business management. The company before was Harmony Bookkeeping, and out of the blue last summer, so the summer of 2018, a local accounting firm called and were looking to start up a bookkeeping business and basically offered to buy my book of business because they wanted to get started off on the right foot. And so I contemplated and had many, many meetings and about 4 months of negotiations and contemplations of, do I do this? Can I do this? Should I do this? And eventually made the decision, yes, in that, I found that it would probably be the best decision for myself and my son. It was now just him and I. So I had left a relationship about a year before. So I was a single mom, and it was like, what, this gives us the complete fresh start that we were looking for. And so I thought, what, why not give it a shot and go with it? And that's what brought us to Rochon Associates and niching into the legal medical dental fields. Because of course, with the sale of the business comes a non-compete, and
Yes.
with that non-compete comes, being too young to fully retire, and not getting enough money from the sale of the business to truly retire, and not wanting to completely start over. I didn't want to start a new career. I wanted to still be doing what I was enjoying and still do what I knew. So that's where the targeted legal, medical, dental side came. So I was able to sell the majority of the practice before, but keep the legal, medical, dental clients, and then now target everything there for the sale of the business. So.
And how are you enjoying that target market?
It's been great. I mean, the great thing with it is being able to really hone in on the industries that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And working with the clients that I really enjoy, and being able to utilize my previous skills from before starting my own business into the new business even more. Prior to starting my business, I was managing dental offices for 12 years. So to now be back in that sort of field and in that realm has been really great. And it's been a really attractive feature for dentists who are looking for new bookkeepers, because there's very few bookkeepers out there that truly understand the be outs of the actual operation of a dental practice. So I've really been able to target that, and being able to, be able to show the skills that I have for that. Right. And then same thing with the legal industry, very specialized computers programs, very specialized compliance things, because not only do they have to be compliant with CR8, but they also have to be compliant with the Law Society. So I've been able to really understand that and zone in on those key areas and help out those practices there.
I have a few clients and friends that are lawyers, and I know for them it's always a struggle to find someone who could do their bookkeeping. And Absolutely. They technically always end up having to pay someone to actually work for them full time. So it'd be great to have a company like yours where it can be more that contingent bookkeeping,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think they'll love that. How did you know that your service would be needed in these markets?
I mean, the biggest reason that I knew that it would be was the clients that I was getting just before I sold the business anyways. I was getting the outreach from the legal practices and the dental practices. The dental practices started actually with previous dentists that I used to work with, noticing me on Facebook and on LinkedIn that I was doing bookkeeping. So they reached out and were like, hey, we know that you have the dental experience and you're doing bookkeeping. Our current bookkeeper doesn't have that. Would you be interested in taking our practice on? And then with legal, it was just a matter of, constantly hearing through the grapevine of, it's my admin assistant who's doing the entries, or it's our law clerk who's doing our entries, or our legal assistant. Yeah. And those aren't ideal people to be doing the entries because they don't have the financial bookkeeping background. So although the entries may be going in right, or they may be going in somewhat right, they're not necessarily being optimized and being looked at properly. And then there's a lot of issues that then end up running into at the end of the year when they're talking to their accountant, or just practices kind of going, I really don't understand my numbers whatsoever, because nothing's really being entered to where it should be, which is a common concern when somebody's doing the entries that doesn't have the background for bookkeeping.
Right, very much so. Tell us a little bit about Rochon, like what Rochon and Associates, what type of bookkeeping are you doing, and what, like, do you do the full cycle? Do you do income taxes and corporate taxes? I'm not clear.
Absolutely. So, I mean, essentially we do what I say is we do call it full cycle bookkeeping. For those not in the know, it basically means everything from accounts payables, receivables, so paying your bills, collecting your income from your clients, reconciling all of that, which means just basically making sure that everything matches, everything totals up properly, entering all of your expenses, entering your income. We also help with payroll. If you have WSIB that is required to be paid, we help with that. HST returns, and everything up to the point of the taxes. Okay. So we do not provide tax filings. We don't do any form of year ends for corporate or sole proprietors. Right. We work very closely with local accountants who we pass that on to, but we get everything up to the point of basically being able to hand over your file in a pretty little bow, essentially, off to the accountant so that they can get the year end done.
Right. I love that. Now, I know from your previous experience, you were an absolute whiz and just fixing people's, productivity and their workflows and all that. Is that something you still continue?
Absolutely. So that's where a big passion of mine is. Yes, the bookkeeping's great. But as we all know, data entry can become slightly tedious. So the joy and the passion comes from truly being able to help practices and help business owners look at those numbers and then try and figure out where they need to change. How do they become more efficient? How do they get more billings done? How do they get more of a net income after their expenses? How do they decrease their expenses? Where's their money going? How do they hire? Who are they hiring? Are they hiring subcontractors? Are they hiring an employee? What's the difference between the two? And what happens if I hire the wrong person and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the times I don't think I can afford to hire. So we help them walk through the process of figuring out that actually you can't afford not to hire.
Right.
And it's extremely important to hire and delegate. So we work through processes to figure out, what are you delegating? What's this person going to come in as, what's their job title? What jobs and tasks are they going to be doing? And how do I afford that? What do I do with that? What does that look like? So we do a ton of consulting with business owners, especially when they're in that growth phase.
Good. So question to follow on from that, for those that are listening, how do they know? How does a business know when they're ready to hire someone? I mean, do you have any rules of thumb that can kind of help out?
Well, I mean, I take basically, from example of straight out of my own book. I always say, go back to your why. A lot of us start our business because we're sick and tired of working crazy hours. We're sick of working for somebody else, increasing their income. We want more time with the family. We want to be at the hockey rink, or we want to be at the dance studio or whatever with our kids. So the minute your business starts interfering again with those things, you need to seriously consider hiring. Because then we start resenting our business. Now we're back to working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, which we didn't want to do in the first place. So if you're at that point, you definitely need to. Secondly, the other thing is you're just finding that you're not getting enough time in the day to do things. So you're procrastinating because either you don't like doing the task, which is a big one, or you just don't have the time to do it. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses, one of the things that slips through the cracks is invoicing. We're so busy and caught up doing the job for the clients that we don't get a chance to invoice. And then, we have to buy materials and supplies, and we're like, where's that money coming from? Oh, I still haven't invoiced a client that I finished the job for last week, or, a month ago, or 2 months ago even.
It blows my mind. I know of people who do that all the time. And I'm like, how can you not get your invoicing?
Yeah.
It's the only way to receive money.
Absolutely. It's mind-boggling. So, I mean, if you're ever in that situation, then that's a key indicator that it's time to consider hiring somebody. And most of the time, the first hire is either an admin person or somebody who's going to literally be hands-on making you income. But a lot of the times we're looking at an admin person to sort of help out with the paperwork side of the business.
Now, I think you also help them with systems integration and systems adoption and that kind of thing. Tell me, do you have any favorite productivity sites, tools, or apps or systems that you use or you help your clients use?
I mean, a lot of it, again, is it's developing a process of understanding what they're doing and figuring out inefficiencies within that process. So we do a lot of administrative process review and documentation. And as well, just sort of day-to-day process stuff of, okay, when are you most productive? When does it make most sense to be doing task A, task B, task C, based on, your clients, based on who you're reaching out to, things like that. Does it make sense to be doing collection calls at 7 o'clock at night when, half of your client base is eating dinner or at the hockey arena? No. So we need to change that time frame that you have set aside to do that to a different time during the day. And just looking at what's working with the business and what's not working with the business, and anything that's not working, just trying to figure out what better sort of could work, and testing the waters on a lot of that. So it's not necessarily productivity tools and programs. It's more like time management and who's doing what and what's doing who kind of thing.
And prioritizing those systems.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Now, what do you love most about what you do?
For me, it's seeing the business owner succeed. So it's seeing that they've gotten back to their passion. It's seeing that they're like, re-enjoying their business, that their business is being successful. They're not frustrated with it and wanting to go back to the job, and just seeing them grow to that next level. I've worked with tons of clients when they're in that starting, 1 year, 2 year mark, and they're just themselves, and just seeing them catapult forward by hiring somebody, and how much that sort of helped them. And the ideal is really, once you hire the first person, hiring the next one and the next one and the next one is like a piece of cake. And then you start going, why didn't I do this sooner? So just seeing that progression has been great. It's a lot of fun to see that.
Yeah. Another question I have for you, what have you, like with all the entrepreneurs and businesses you've worked with, have you seen like a pattern or a formula that makes some people successful over others?
Well, I mean, and not to, I guess, toot the horn of bookkeeping and financials, but I mean, financials are a huge, massive requirement to know and understand within your business. And we see all the time businesses come in and people come in who have absolutely no idea what their numbers are, have no idea even the basics of bookkeeping to try and begin to understand what their numbers are and what their financials are for their business. And if you don't understand the basics of that, then you really can't be successful. We tend to not work with clients who kind of just drop their stuff off and walk away. We much prefer to work with clients who actually want to be involved and want to understand their financials, because that's the ones that we find that we can help the most.
Okay. So you're really saying, like, for someone, like, one of the successful patterns is to really understand your financials. You don't need to do it well.
Exactly.
You just need to understand what it is and how it works, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah. Understand it so that you can understand and you can kind of see what's going on, and you know where your money's going, you know where your money's coming from, and that information there, and being on top of it. So not doing, not leaving it until June of the following year because your taxes are due to look at last year's numbers, because you can't do anything at that point.
Good point. Now, have you found any marketing tactics that help your business be successful?
I mean, marketing for me has pretty much been word of mouth almost from day one. I very rarely get a cold call from, Google or whatever, but I do a lot of social media posting. So Facebook, LinkedIn, and then I've got a Google business page set up, which has helped with testimonials and just the Google ranking, which a lot of that I think comes more towards the social proof versus getting the referrals. So when somebody gets referred to me, they're often going to Google or going to my Facebook page to check out what's going on. And then they're able to see the testimonials from previous clients and all that, and sort of get to know me a little bit more through there. And then they reach out and they know that they're getting a trusted referral.
Awesome. Any other things that you do for marketing?
I try to do some networking, I would say, unfortunately, since becoming a one-man show again. So since selling my business, before I sold my business, I had myself and 5 staff. So I had a lot more time to be working on the business versus in the business. But since rebranding and selling the company, I've been back down to just myself. So the networking has been, few and far between. Which I definitely have noticed a huge impact on the referrals that I'm getting by that. So, I mean, definitely getting out there, meeting people, seeing people, the BACD networking lunch, I probably haven't been out to in about 8 months, which is crazy because before that I didn't miss a single one. So
did you get clients from it too?
I didn't necessarily get clients from it. And that's one thing I always say to people is networking for me, I've never gotten a direct client from networking, but the visibility that I've gotten, the relationships that I've built, which then in turn down the line have resulted in referrals.
Very true.
So it's all about your mindset where you're going into the networking. A lot of people go in and it's like, if I don't get at least one sale from this networking event, then I'm never going back. But networking is all about relationships, and you've got to build those relationships before anything comes through. And I just love meeting new business owners. And a lot of the times it's having that 10-minute conversation with them. And they ask a couple questions and they're like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. And so just super appreciative. which for me, I almost feel like it's my positive give back at the end of the day, to be able to, you know, give a 10-minute thing of advice to them on something, and they're able to walk away and be like, okay, that was amazing, right? Like I really gained some valuable information. So
very true. I know people think that they can go to a networking event and sell, and I want to just caution you, you know, we all know if we're being sold to, like we know.
absolutely.
You know, but people like to buy, but they don't want to be sold. So I'm always like, you know, networking is about opening a relationship. And that could be a relationship of a supplier, a vendor, a friend, a referral source, you know, somebody's grandmother. We don't actually know the person that we're meeting. We don't know how many people they know. And also it's important to leave a positive impression on that person, because then they refer you to their network. And that's exactly what you said when you said, you know, I get indirect referrals from.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. And I mean, and even for me, like I've met, you know, I met my mastermind group through networking, just other business owners who I really, really connected with, who were totally in the same mindset and growth path that I was. And we've collaborated and we've, you know, helped each other through our businesses in the last 4 years. And it's been amazing. And I would have never met those people if it wasn't for being out networking and doing those networking events.
What significant changes have you seen happen in your industry since you've been in it?
I think in my industry, again, like bookkeeping is a very oversaturated market. Everybody and their brother tends to offer bookkeeping services.
Everybody's good at it.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, more and more we're seeing people who are familiar with computer programs, so therefore they think that they can do bookkeeping. And, you know, we're consistently getting files from businesses who unfortunately hired that person. And now their QuickBooks file or their, you know, their bookkeeping file altogether is just a mess, and things aren't being done correctly. And it seems to be more often than not that we're getting those files now in comparison to when we first started. So we're doing a lot of troubleshooting, we're doing a lot of fixing, we're doing a lot of course correction and you know, getting things corrected, hopefully. And oftentimes we're actually having to completely restart some of the files, you know, start from scratch and completely scrap the previous file, which is really unfortunate because it's a huge cost to the business owner. So, I mean, that's what I would be saying is those are the trends that we're seeing, is that there's more and more people coming in saying that they offer in bookkeeping, but really don't have the background and the knowledge behind them to truly be able to do it and do it correctly.
Right. Very cool. How do you manage fear? Do you suffer from fear in your business at all? I'm sure you do.
Yes and no. I mean, I guess for the first time, really, the first time I truly felt fear was when I did the rebrand. And, you know, my business coach reminded me one day and said, yes, you're 5 years into business, but technically you're 2 weeks into business, you know? So, and that fear came from, did I do the right thing? Because my phone was not ringing. My emails were not dinging. You know, I was not getting referrals. I was not getting phone calls. I was not getting new business. And it actually probably took about 4 months for me to get my first new client with the new business. And I was beyond fearful. I mean, I was questioning everything I did. I was questioning if I did the right thing. I was scared. You know, I was starting a new relationship and starting a new family and doing all of that. And I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to support this? Because this business just isn't growing.
Right.
And like I said, then the business coach gave me the reminder and kept on reminding me and sort of saying, you've restarted. Like, all in all, like, forget what used to happen. You've completely restarted. And that really finally one day hit me, but it took a couple of months for it to truly sink in, and for me to realize it. And then once I did, I was able to turn things around and get out of that rut, and be like, no, I know I did the right thing. I know I'm in the right place, and I need to get out there and get this going again. So
very true. Not a lot of us talk about, you know, fear and being vulnerable about it, because it is fear. Like, you know, you're in business for yourself. There's no safety net. There's no,
Absolutely.
going back, and it's not that easy to just go and find a job after you've been running your own business. I know my husband goes through that. He's been in his business for 10 years, and it's not always easy, and you've got to keep pedaling and keep staying positive. And
Yeah,
if any advice I can always give to people is, like, it really comes down to your mindset, being able to manage your fear, and changing your energy, changing your focus. Where your focus goes, your energy goes. Or where
absolutely.
focusing on things where your business can be successful. And I appreciate talking about that with you, because it isn't easy to talk about. And
No,
when you're out in business and during the day and networking, it's got to be all positive, 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 right? And it's
exactly.
not always that easy to do that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I mean, I say to people all the time, like, entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. Like, you're up and down and all over the place. And we've all been there at least a couple times a year going, you know what, F this, I'm going to get a job. I can't do this anymore. I'm done with the emotional roller coaster and the ups and downs of the income and everything else. But then, we sit down and we reflect, and it's like, no, this is all worth it in the end.
Yes.
Again, going back to the freedoms and the abilities that your business allows you to do.
Very true.
It's so worth it in the end. It's definitely a roller coaster of fears and joys and happiness and sadness and up and down.
You're right. I have a question for you. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs that are just getting started?
I mean, for me, the one thing I always say to people is be certain of your pricing. Entrepreneurs that are often starting out, make the mistake, and I did the exact same thing when I first started, was taking what you were working before and saying, that's the salary that I need, so therefore what's my hourly rate? Which often very much undervalues yourself for what your industry standard should be. And it also very much limits the growth that you can do with your business, because if you're only charging what you need, how do you bring on more staff and be able to pay them without taking a massive pay cut out of your pocket? So be very clear on your pricing, know your markets, and go for it. Like, take that leap. Get a mentor or somebody who can sort of, walk beside you and help out. The BACD is amazing for what they can offer. And like I said, meeting up with somebody during a networking group who, you connect with, utilize their skills and their experience of their business to help you out and answer those questions and give you the push when you need it, and come sop up the tears when you need it, and the shoulder to cry on, and reevaluate and re-push you to, yes, you can do this, you are in the right place. Secondly, the other thing is, don't be afraid to pivot. Okay, your business 5 years from now is not going to be what you thought it was when you first started out. I can guarantee it.
When I think of you, and I knew you right at the beginning of starting Harmony Bookkeeping, and it was more almost about the business management side than the bookkeeping.
Yes, it was. It absolutely was. Because again, that's where my true passion is.
Yes.
But that's almost become, it's still very much intrinsically part of the business, but it's like the upsells, it's the value adds that we're adding.
Yes.
And using versus, that being a huge income earner for us, and bookkeeping just kind of being a funnel into it. So there's definitely been a lot of changes, in my own business and people that I know. Like I said, you have this idea of what your business is going to be when you start it. And it often changes courses or changes direction multiple times, until you find your little niche and your comfort zone. And then even then it changes again because somebody's pushing you to grow, or you find another area that you can branch out into, or whatever else. So be open to the change. Be open to the pivot if you need to. If you're doing something and you're just not making the income for it, then figure out another way to make income for your business. Especially if what you're doing you're super passionate about, but it's just not making you the income. Find something that can make you income so you can continue to do your passion.
Very true. I love it. Those are really great tips, really good advice, I would think, for them. Tell me, I don't know if you struggle with this, but do you have any, secrets or tips about staying focused in your day-to-day busy schedule?
I think the biggest thing is scheduling. Put things in your calendar. and try and stick to your calendar. So I use the tip all the time with business owners for their bookkeeping, is, if you're going to be doing it on your own, if you're going to be doing part of it on your own, schedule that in. Find the day of the week and the time of the week that you feel most comfortable to be doing things that are financial based, that are number based, and schedule it into your calendar every week. So if that's Monday morning from 9 till 11, schedule it, don't move it. And I say that with everything else. If you've got to do your social media posting,
right,
schedule it, stick to it. You want to only be doing client consults during specific times, schedule it, stick to it. That's the best way to stay focused. And the other thing that I say too is, if you're just having an off day, forgive yourself, let yourself do it, and let yourself have the day, right? That's the whole big part of being self-employed, is to be able to have that freedom. If you find yourself doing it day after day after day after day, then you need to get a confidant, you need to get a mentor beside you to come and kick your butt and get you moving again. But we all need that day off, and, cherish your time, set boundaries. For me, I had the boundaries of, I don't take client calls and meetings on the weekends and evenings, unless if it's like a really important client, or like a really, really urgent issue. For the most part, it's my clients know when they come in. Like, I work, Monday to Friday, and I try not to do things on evenings and weekends, and try and stick to those boundaries as much as possible.
Really important. What key activities do you think entrepreneurs should invest their time in? If they want to start and grow their business and let it be successful.
I mean, for me, I always say to people, as the owner, is you should be focusing, when you're growing, on income earning tasks. If the task is not going to make you money, you should not be doing it, and somebody else should be doing it. Again, we do a lot of consulting with people to figure out, what does that mean? What does that look like? How does it look? To really get focused on that. But we get so wrapped up in paperwork, and we get so wrapped up in all the extras of our business. And at the end of the week, we look at what we've billed out and we hardly have any billings. Your business cannot succeed if you're not making income, if you're not doing billable work. So as a business owner, as you're starting out, that's where your focus truly needs to be. And the other stuff needs to be delegated out.
Or done during the time when you're not trying to generate income.
Absolutely.
Those hard contact hours.
Yes.
I was in sales for years, and like 9 till 11 and 1 till 3 are key sales times.
Exactly.
That's what you do in that time and nothing else. So I remember that. One of the things you mentioned early on in our conversation is that you have a business coach.
Yes.
Now, I've not had a lot of people tell me they have business coaches, and I honestly believe, we don't even bat an eyelid to send our kids for coaching and soccer coaching and this coaching and tutoring, but we balk at the idea of doing it for ourselves.
Yeah. And I'll be completely honest. I mean, for myself, I was pretty much the exact same way for the first 4 years of my business. I felt I was very business savvy. I felt that, my business was going really well. It was growing year over year. I was getting consistent referrals. I was getting all kinds of, new clients and great feedback. And I was well known in the community. So I thought, like, why invest in a business coach? They're not cheap. And the reality was, I was at a workshop one day, and I had a quick conversation with the presenter, who happens to be a business coach. And I had a quick conversation with her afterwards, and she was offering a 3-hour intensive look into your business, and it was complimentary.
Wow.
So I thought, you know what, why the heck not? So we went there, and I was struggling with a few things. And one of the things that I was actually struggling with was how to grow my business and take it to the next step. So I knew I wanted to hire a manager. I knew I wanted to kind of replace a lot of the tasks that I was doing, so that I could refocus and spend more time on some of the areas that I really enjoyed more. But I had no idea how, what, where, whatever. And I'd been toying with it for about a year. And during that 3-hour consult, this business coach pulled things out of me that I couldn't get myself, knew exactly where I wanted to go, like, was so bang on. that I couldn't not sign on with them. So I did.
Elated to find out who that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And we did a year, and unfortunately during that year, about, halfway through, I guess, 3/4 of the way through was when the whole transition for the potential of the sale of the business happened. But I was actually really happy to have them beside me for that process as well, because again, they brought things to light that I hadn't thought of. Right. Things to make sure that were included in the agreement, things to make sure that I talked about, and they truly helped me to see the value of my business, which when we're so close to our business, it's hard to see. I had numbers in my mind, and she was like, why are you only going for that much? Like, right. You are worth way more than that. And the clients that you have are worth way more than that. You need to go up in that number. So if I hadn't have had her beside me, I know I would have sold myself short. There's so many things that a business coach can do for you. And I absolutely do intend on hiring one again, probably after, in about the spring of 2020. About a year into this business is kind of where I'm thinking I'm going to hire another one, potentially the same one. And I've been hearing some great information from another one as well. So I may check her out as well, but it's definitely something to invest in.
Yes. I'm always investing in all kinds of different types of coaches and work and things that I can do. Because I truly believe when you work on you and your skills and your leadership abilities, you just grow you and your business, your potential, your life. It's just so powerful,
Absolutely.
So you're right. So Erin, I want to thank you very much for your time today. It's been great to interview you and get to know you a little bit more. And I wanted our listeners and our audience to know that you're on our expert network and that they can reach out to you if they need help.
Absolutely.
I know that you're so helpful. You ask, you answer questions, you really help them with whatever. So I just wanted people to get a little sense of who you are, the things that you work on, and why people should reach out to you. So I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a wonderful, wonderful day.
Excellent.
Thank you.